Greetings and welcome to the Sherborn Solar Challenge. We're going to be talking about what that means, what it could mean for you, how it works, and a bit of detail about that over the next few minutes. We're going to also show you some residential installations of this. We're going to talk to an owner of a business in Sherborn who has done what we're going to talk about for the next few minutes. And we're going to inform you about what all this could mean for you. So to begin this, we're going to introduce you to Jane Push. Jane, hi.
Hi.
How are you?
Great, how are you doing?
Good. And Jane, you are the coach for the Sherborn Solar Challenge. And tell us about yourself. You are a Sherborn resident?
Yes, I am. I live in Sherborn and I'm on the Energy Committee, which has been going for a couple of years now.
And so as the coach for the Sherborn Solar Challenge, what do you do? What does that mean? How do you help this process?
Well, the Solar Challenge is a program that the committee wanted to bring to our town. It's a program that's been done in quite a few towns across Massachusetts and had a lot of success. I guess my part in it as a solar coach is to answer questions, to create awareness in Sherborn and Dover, to basically help people understand the affordability of getting solar energy, that it's really no longer a subjective decision, it's more of an objective, money-saving kind of energy to have at this point in time with all of the rebates and tax incentives.
Okay, so I guess we'll get into some of those details a bit. Tell me more about this Sherborn Solar Challenge. Why is it brought here? To save money, to help the environment? Give me some ideas about why it exists.
Okay, well, both those reasons. We're following the example, as I said, of quite a few other towns that have done...
Which towns are coming to mind?
Arlington, Newton, Brookline, Carlisle. Those are...
To name a few.
To name a few.
Name a few.
And they were involved in the Solarize Mass program, which is a state-sponsored program.
Solarize Mass program, and that is something that the state has decreed. Has it passed legislation? What's the little bit of a history on the Solarize Mass? Help me with the words again.
Solarize Mass.
Okay, Solarize Mass.
Solarize Mass is as I said, a state program that has rebates that encourage small-scale solar projects.
So for my home, for
residents, businesses.
Mm-hmm.
Right, not large scale, but small scale. They really want to encourage residents and businesses to have their own installation. There is a goal which has been reached and a new goal set of contracted capacity. And so the rebates continue, the incentives continue. Solarize Mass started a couple of years ago, and they do town-wide programs. I mentioned a few of those towns that have been very successful in spreading the awareness and the affordability of solar energy to reduce the carbon footprint. It is environmentally friendly, but it's also a good economic decision now, which it hasn't been so much in the past.
And so you will come in, and here's an example of a home with a solar panel at the top,
Mm-hmm.
on the roof on the top on the roof
Right.
of the home. So the idea is to bring solar to my home, to the businesses and so forth in Sherborn. And how do you go about doing that then?
Well, it's fairly simple. If people want to know if their home or business is a viable site, they can sign up at solarflair.com.
Solarflair.com. SOLARFLAIR, all one word?
Yes.
.com.
.com, and select the Sherborn Solar Challenge button, and they just populate their name and address. Their address will be looked up on using their software and satellite view of the home. And this doesn't take very long to see if it is a viable site. And if it is, then our designated rep, Mike Perkins, will come out and do a free site assessment. So there's no cost at all up front to see whether or not your home, your property, is a good place for a solar installation.
And so why would I want to do that? What are my incentives as a resident, let's say?
Well, in the long run, you will have a lower cost for electricity. There are two ways to go. You can do either a purchase and recoup your money, usually in a 4 to 6 year payback period. Or you can do kind of a lease program, which is zero down, and a third party owns the array, and you buy your power from them, usually at a rate that is lower than what our average cost is right now in Sherborn.
So either way, my experience is the same. I have somebody come out and I put some solar panels somewhere on my, presumably on the roof, or it could be other things, other ways of installing.
Yes.
And then there's some equipment that goes inside the house, I assume?
Yes, it will be tied, and I'm sure Dan can explain a bit more about this.
And we'll meet Dan in a few minutes.
Yes,
Okay.
from Solar Flare. There will be monitoring depending on whether or not you purchase or lease, and basically the array, I guess, is the most visible piece of
And
the
go on the
project.
roof, probably, somewhere.
Probably on the roof.
Okay.
Or an accessory building, a garage, a barn. There are a lot of options.
Okay, terrific. So we'll look at some of the examples of that in a few minutes, and we'll talk with some of the people who have actually done this.
Fantastic.
So we'll go from there, and we'll see how it all works.
Great.
Good, thanks, Jane.
Thank you so
Appreciate
much,
the information.
Jim.
Thank you. So, Jane, we've understood a bit this morning so far about the Sherborn Solar Challenge and how you fit in as the coach. Is that the right term? Coach?
Yes, it is.
And how that all can work. Why don't we explore a bit more of the details and how it can work for the residents and business owners for Sherborn. And to do that, why don't we invite in Dan Greenwood. Dan, hi, welcome. And we want to find out who you are. What's your title?
I'm the Vice President of Business Development for Solar Flare.
Okay. And Solar Flare is my understanding, chosen company for...
Solar Flare was the chosen company for the challenge, and we're a turnkey solar installer.
Okay. So, Dan, as the Vice President for Solar Flare, how do you work with this program, and how do you bring in your assets and your knowledge, and how do I go about doing this for Sherborn and for Dover and maybe some other towns around the area?
Sure, what we're doing right now is meeting with Sherborn and Dover residents and business owners and performing assessments of their specific sites. We figure out how many solar panels they can fit on their roof, and we figure out what kind of solar access they have, and if they are in fact a good candidate for solar.
What makes me a good candidate? How do you give me some ideas of how do I get started? You know, tell me if I have a house, then if it's in the sun, if it's not in the sun, give me some parameters for how I can get started.
Sure, what we look for generally is a house that has a southern exposure. It doesn't have to be directly south, it could be southeast, it could be southwest. After that, we want houses that generally have good solar access during the course of the day. So minimal shading, and then very few obstructions on the roof. So sometimes dormers, skylights, chimneys can also cause shading. And so we look for the houses that would meet that ideal description, which would be a house that has a southern exposure, very little shading, and very few obstructions on the roof.
And once you've found the ideal house, then what do you do next?
We contact the homeowner and we schedule a site visit to go out, take the measurements that we need, both the physical measurements, and we have a tool that measures the amount of sun that will reach that roof over the course of a year.
And if I've got a good house, then what happens next?
The next step after that is during that site visit, we'll have a discussion about the solar opportunity, both for the challenge as well as the incentive programs that are available here in the state, and we'll put together a proposal and send it to the homeowner.
Can you talk a bit about why the renewable resources are important for me? What's available on the earth and what's left and that sort of thing? Can you give me some ideas about why this is important from a renewable resource standpoint?
Absolutely. What we've seen is that there's a finite amount of fossil fuels available on the earth. When you compare that to how much sun hits the earth every single day and every single year, solar seems to be the best fit for a renewable energy source to provide electricity to the home.
And so how long have you been actually doing this work to bring renewable energy to homes in general?
I've been working on this for about 4 years, and Solar Flare has been doing this for almost 7 years.
Okay. So the program for Sherborn then, I understand something about some tiered information or something. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, the program's very unique in that the more people that sign up in Dover and Sherborn, the more cost effective the system will be. So our proposal will be submitted to the homeowner at Tier 1, which is the highest price. As more and more people sign up in Dover and Sherborn, that price will decrease until we get to Tier 5, which is the highest tier at 200 kilowatts. Our price will be reduced by 55 cents per watt, which equates to about 30 to 35% of the system.
So I can save roughly how much in Sherborn and Dover over what I'm doing right now?
Compared to the normal market prices, you'd be saving between 30 and 35% as compared to other towns.
Okay, as compared to other towns. Okay. And the more people, make sure I understand this, the more people who sign up, the better the deal is for me.
Correct.
Is that how it works?
Yes.
Okay. And all over the towns, how much improvement have you experienced with the towns?
We did this similar program last year in the towns of Mendon, Hopkinton, and Arlington. And we saw adoption levels increase by 4 times. So before the program existed in those towns, there was about 100 solar projects installed. By the end of the program, there was about 500.
Okay, so a lot of work for you.
Yeah, but it was great, and the towns were very responsive, and it was a great program because it's a good way to get people a great competitive price using that group purchasing model.
Okay, so once you've come out and once you've said this is a great house, and once I've agreed to improve my situation with electricity costs, what do you do next?
The next step is we'll have an engineer schedule a site visit to come out to your house and start doing all the detailed design and documentation that's required. The installations will be performed during the course of the year, and it's basically a first come first served basis. So the sooner you sign up, the sooner we'll start the design and installation process.
Somebody working up on the roof of the house, I assume they're safe and they're insured and that sort of thing?
Oh, absolutely, yes. We have we're licensed electricians. We have a home improvement contractor's license. All of our employees have been trained by OSHA, and we have all the required insurances.
Terrific. All right. So how do I get started? Is that a Jane question or is that a you question? I don't know.
Either way, it'll all be funneled to the same place. If you go to our website, www.solarflare.com, you'll see the Sherborn Solar Challenge logo, and if you click on that, you can fill out your information, and then we will contact you.
Okay, good. And Jane, do you have any other things to add to that?
No, I think that explains it really well.
Okay, terrific, good. Okay, Dan, thank you for the help.
Thank you.
Appreciate the information. Jane, thank you for the information.
Thank you, Jim.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, we're here today with Preston, Catherine, and Mason Crow, and we're going to talk with them about an installation that they did for their solar power, part of their solar power. So, Preston, can you tell us a little bit about how long you've had this solar installation here?
It was almost 4 years ago, back in October of 2009. Solar Flare came and they, over a course of 2 or 3 days, put 17 solar panels on our roof.
17, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And how long did it take for them to do the job?
Oh, it was 2 or 3 days.
Yeah, the whole thing, including topping off some of the trees here to make the skyline more helpful.
Okay. And did they come out and do something ahead of time? Did they?
Oh yes,
take a look?
they came out. They had a little device that measures the sun, and they measured it in several different places on the roof, and they were able to figure out at various times of the year the angle of the sun, to figure out exactly how much sun exposure we have on the roof, so they knew whether or not it would
You're a
be
good
practical.
candidate for it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right, sure.
Exactly.
So they came and installed it, and then they ran a line down into the house and put some equipment inside.
Yeah, it's in the garage. It's right next to the fuse box. We never notice it.
Oh, hi
Honey,
Mason.
Be careful.
So what have you seen in terms of your experience then with the solar panels and the installation? Give me an idea of what you've done since it's been installed.
Oh, once it's been installed, it's basically we forget about it. Our electric bills are a lot lower. There are a couple of times in the spring each year when our electric bill is usually under $10.
Okay. Terrific. All right. So you'd do it again if you had to do it over?
Oh yes. In fact, doing it when we did it, the incentives weren't as good as they are now. And it's less expensive now. So we're probably just going to barely break even on it from having done it back in 2009. But it'd be a much better deal now than it was when we did it.
Yeah, we would absolutely do it again.
And any maintenance you have to do on it, or anything to take care of what you've
There
got?
has been no maintenance whatsoever.
No, in 4 years we've never had a problem at all. And the snow slides right off it.
All right, well, that's good to know. All right, well, thanks for that. Appreciate it, and thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're here with Ed Rose at Rose's Automotive in North Main Street in downtown Sherborn. And we're talking with Ed about his experience with the solar challenge. So Ed, you went through the whole thing. So tell us about it. What do you have here, and tell us about what your experience is.
Well, when I built the addition on the back here, I talked to Solar Flare, and Solar Flare said because it's facing south, due south, it was a good candidate for solar power. Help me with my energy that I use here in the building.
Which is substantial, I assume.
They said because of how much I would generate if I put the solar panels on, that I would probably generate 75% of my use that I use for this building on an average. So on a good day, I make more energy than I actually use in the building. On a poor day, of course, I don't make as much.
So on a good day, you see this meter spinning backwards sometimes.
Well, exactly. Well, I really see it. It moves very slowly, but yeah, we definitely...
It does go backwards.
Definitely goes backwards. And you gotta remember, I'm only here 5.5 days, so 1.5 days we're making energy and it's just going right back to the grid. Basically, we have 2 meters. 1 meter is for goes to the grid. If I take the power from the grid, the meter goes forward. If I make my own energy and I use it within the shop, the meter doesn't move. If I make energy and I put it back to the grid, the meter moves backwards. And I have another meter that actually measures everything that I make, no matter what. And that's they had a program which I think is ending at the end of this year, the end of 2013, for SRECs. So everything that I make, I get paid for. So knowing that information, knowing that 75% I was going to generate enough to run my business, plus the SRECs, I figured it was a logical way of saving some energy.
No-brainer.
No-brainer at that point.
So they came and then they put some stuff on the roof.
Yeah, we
Tell me about
have about 88 panels on the roof.
88 panels.
Yes, and basically these panels are making direct current, and so these panels behind you here, they actually convert it from DC to AC. So I have 3 sets of panels up there, and that's what these 3 panels do, is convert that.
And how long do they take to install the stuff on the roof?
I want to
panels
say
on the roof?
that it was probably a good 6 weeks or so to do it start to finish. They were out there in the middle of the summer putting them up there. It was hot, I know that. But I got to admit, they worked with me, because when I went to hook it up to the grid, they said, listen, we'll come in on a Saturday after you shut down. and we'll hook it up to the grid so it won't interfere with it. They were really good. If they were working inside here in the way, they had no problem moving and working with us.
Solar Flare is the company.
Yeah,
that
I went to Solar Flare. I met them at a open house, and I talked about the concept about doing it, and they walked me right through it. They helped me set it all up, and financing. I was shocked. I was one of the first ones that did it through the bank that I used, and they had all kinds of questions. And Solar Flare went and talked to them and explained it to them. And I even said to Solar Flare that I'm not doing anything until I talk to my accountant. And he went up and they talked to my accountant, and the accountant basically came back and said, "It's a no-brainer, Ed." And it is. It's kind of cool. I leave at night. It's still running. It shuts off when the sun goes down. I come in the morning, the sun's up, it's back running. I don't have to do any maintenance, no nothing. It just sits there and does its thing.
That's his thing. So
Yeah.
you would call yourself happy with what you, a good decision, and you're
Very
happy
good
with
decision.
what you did.
Anytime you do something, you don't require any maintenance afterwards is a good decision, you know? So,
And did you think ahead of time, well, I don't know, and then you're now convinced? I mean, give me a pathway. Were you ever not sure of?
once
What you
again,
wanted to
there's
do?
always hesitation on anything you do. But with the SRECs, and when I did it, I had a kickback from the federal government too. It's
They call it a rebate, perhaps.
yeah, a rebate. Yeah, and now they actually get you get a tax deductions.
Tax credit.
Yeah, where I didn't get that because they gave me back in the form of cash.
Got it.
But no, it was everyone convinced me because the payback time is about 10 years for me with my SRECs, the savings. I'm looking about 10 years. The system's warranted for 25 years, and life expectancy is 30 years. So once again,
Have you had any problems?
absolutely nothing. I mean, there's one problem where you can actually look on your internet and actually see what you did for the day. And one time it wasn't. It was downloading, but I couldn't see it. They came right out and fixed the problem, and there was no issues, none at all. And
Good.
great
All
to
right.
work with, and
Good.
yeah, I can't say enough.
So you'd do it again, I guess.
I do it in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things I keep on mentioning, though, this is a brand new building, brand new roof. You know, those panels are up there for 30 years. You know, if you put it onto a house or something like that, make sure you have a new roof up there because you'll be taking them off to repair the roof.
And they'll
Yeah.
take care of evaluating all of that, I assume, if you had to do that. If you had to figure the roof out, they would figure that out for you.
Oh yeah, well they did it because that was one of the key things here. I had to make sure engineering to support the load.
And they came and did that.
Yes.
Very good. Okay. Good. Okay. Well, good. Good to talk with you, Ed.
Very
Thanks
good.
for your
Thank
help.
you, Jim.
Appreciate it. Thank
All
you.
right.
Okay.
Good
See ya.
luck.
Thanks. Bye. We're here with David Williams, who is the Sherborn Town Administrator, and we're going to discuss with him the town's responsibilities and support for the solar challenge for Sherborn and Dover. So David, you've been here from, I understand, from Framingham. You were with Framingham before?
Yes, I was the assistant town manager and human resources director in Framingham for 3 years and came to Sherborn in February.
So you've been
this
here
year.
for 6-7 months, something
Yes,
like that. Great.
yes.
Okay, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
And quite a job, town administrator.
Yeah, it's been busy so far. Yeah.
Good. Well, in this respect, we're talking about the solar challenge, and we understand that you can help in some ways with that, perhaps, and support that with the selectmen, with others. How does
Right.
it work?
Well, our role in the town administrator and the Board of Selectmen's office is to support the committee and the work that they're doing, which is the Energy Committee. So first, I'd like to thank them for getting the whole project off the ground from concept to completion. And also thank the Board of Selectmen for putting together such an active committee as the Energy Committee has proven to be.
In my understanding is you're the glue that can help to facilitate movement between the different pieces within Sherborn and
Right.
maybe Dover.
Right, so I can support the committee in whatever they need from the town as far as resources. And then also if they need support for something from the Board of Selectmen, I can work between the committee and the board to make that happen. And then also available for residents to come in and ask questions, and we want to respond and get them all an answer that they're happy with if they have any questions.
Okay.
And that could be about the solar challenge, the Energy Committee itself, Board of Selectmen or anything else. that's
Solar
happening in
Flare, I
town.
understand, is the selected vendor
Yes,
to support the...
There were several vendors that were reviewed and with their different proposals, and the Energy Committee weighed everything right down to the penny to find out what the best deal would be for the town, for us to work with Solar Flare on our buildings and properties, and for residents to work with Solar Flare directly on solar initiatives for their properties.
So if someone has questions about the solar challenge for Sherborn and Dover, they should call, my understanding is they should call Jane Push, is that
Jane Push is the
right?
chair of the Energy Committee. She's
Okay.
done an excellent job, and she's been out in front on this, yes.
Okay, so they should call her with questions, and you'll be in support behind the scenes with that? Is that how it would
Right,
work?
yes, but if they, if it's easier to call our office, because we're available 8 to 5 every day, you know, they can call our office and we'll get the answer.
Okay, we're here today with Paul DeRensis. He's one of the 3 selectmen for the town of Sherborn, and he is interested in the solar challenge, and we're going to talk with Paul about his involvement with that and what his feelings are about the solar challenge. So Paul, why are you involved in this particular project?
We live in a state that traditionally imports most of its energy supplies. I've seen statistics that indicate that we spend about $22 billion a year on imports. We are the 10th highest priced state for electricity in the nation. Our energy costs are going up about 3% a year. We need to become more energy independent. And if you look at the state, what do we have to offer? We don't have oil wells here. We don't have coal. We don't have natural gas. But what we do have is abundant wind, lots of water, and solar power. So starting back in about 2008, I have been urging the town of Sherborn to look at solar power, both from municipal buildings point of view and from a community-wide point of view, to reduce our dependence on foreign oil and fossil fuels in general. So that's how I got interested.
So this sounds like a great opportunity to implement those ideas that you've been talking about since 2008.
Yes, solar power is clean. There's no environmental residue, not like fossil fuels, not like nuclear fuel. It reduces dependence on foreign and gas imports. It's renewable. I work in downtown Boston and I watch loaded tankers coming into the port of Boston, low to the water. And then the next day I watch them leave, high, floating high, having unloaded their cargo. This is a regular event in the port of Boston, where fuels are coming in and tankers are leaving empty. That makes me realize how dependent the Commonwealth of Massachusetts is on imports.
And I understand there's a commission in the town for environment and for dealing with these issues. Can you talk about that?
Sure. The Board of Selectmen set up an energy committee, and the energy committee has been working hard to address a number of problems in town. They have been looking at whether or not there could be a solar farm on public lands. But from the point of the homeowner, this actually will save the homeowner money. So from the individual point of view, if these are installed on your property within I think it's a 4-year to 6-year time period, it will pay for itself and then continue from then on to provide reduced
Free energy almost. And to do that, someone in the town of Sherborn and Dover could call and sign up for this solar challenge for Sherborn and Dover. That's obviously the goal.
Yes, the Sherborn Energy Committee selected Solar Flare as a partner company for the specific Sherborn Solar Challenge. This challenge is designed to encourage the installation of solar photovoltaic panels. Again, they can go on your roof, they can go on your garage, they can go on the ground, but they can be wired into your home to provide your own electrical needs.
And we understand that this challenge is in effect now until sometime in November.
November 15th.
November 15, and we hope that people sign up quickly and get evaluated. And we'll put some contact information up so you can get a hold of Jane Push at the number that's on your screen. So we'll show that for you, and at the email address that's also on your screen. So she'll be able to handle the initial contact and the details for you. So, okay, Paul, appreciate it. Thank you very much for your help and your clarification of what's going on with the Solar Challenge. And thank you for being a selectman first, and thank you for spending your time here with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.